Yesterday was the first day of voting in the Georgia Senate runoffs. Last night, we actually had our Georgia Get Out the Vote special. Hopefully everybody was able to watch that. But I did want to give you a little bit of an update on how the race is going one day in. There are going to be some issues, as we've been talking about for some weeks. Bear in mind that in Cobb County, the state's third largest county, only 5 early voting sites are open compared to 11 just a month ago in the general election. They are planning on opening 2 more, I'm going to assume, based on the negative response to the fact that they cut it by more than a half in just a month. But we also know, by the way, that the first day of early voting saw 168,000 in-person votes. That is up from 136,000 on day 1 of in-person voting in the general election, which we just finished. Now, a lot of other things have changed too. There was less time for mail-in ballots and all of that. But if you want a robust turnout in these runoffs, this certainly seems like evidence that people are engaged, Frederick, that they do actually care what happens in these 2 races.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why many Republican leaders have been trying to stop mail-in ballots going forward, right? This only helps people be a part of the democratic process, and it's looking good in my opinion. From the things that I've seen, it's looking like people are not only engaged, but people are getting out there. So for those of you who don't know about the runoff, it's probably, in my personal opinion, this might be more important in some ways than any other, election in recent memory. Because if they can get the Senate, then Biden actually can do some things, and then we can hold him accountable for doing said things. But if not, we're kind of left in the lurch.
Exactly. Yeah, and my fear is that, if we don't get control of the Senate, then there's quite a few sort of centrist Democrats that they don't necessarily want to feel a lot of pressure to really get things done, pass hard, difficult legislation. I want to at least put the spotlight on them. If they control the Senate, then they at least, there's an expectation that they will accomplish something. I'm really hoping that. Not to mention the other effects, like the ability of Biden to theoretically put people on the Supreme Court or other judges, district and appeals court judges. That would be nice. The ability to actually confirm members of his cabinet would probably be cool. I would go for that. But first, they do have to actually win. Both Warnock and Ossoff have to win. And I want to show you just a little bit of a video. This is the Democratic Party chairwoman for Cobb County, the county we were just talking about her concerns about turnout going into this vote.
So this election it's not a continuation of what happened in November. It's a complete reset. It'll have a different character. It'll have lower turnout, most likely. We always see lower turnouts in runoff elections and in special elections. So we are primarily interested in just turning out any Democrat who voted in November. That's our target audience. Expecting that we will have closer to 50% turnout than the 70% turnout we had overall in November.
And so look, this is sort of the story of every election. It's going to be just trying to maximize your turnout. The question for me is going to be, who is going to experience more drop off? Bearing in mind that the Georgia election just a month ago was very close, that Biden won, but it was close, well within 1 percentage point. So the Democrats who are coming off of a presidential win that really want to take control so they can actually get something done. And you have the Republicans who have been staying very engaged with the election, via claims of voter fraud and all of that. How do you think that's going to shake out? Who do you think really considers there to be more on the line in these 2 races?
It's funny because I actually think that the Dems are going to take it handedly. Because what you've seen from Trump supporters in the Republican Party, they've been telling people not to vote in Georgia because Georgia wasn't able to go towards Trump in the national election or general election. So it's interesting, and I've been seeing actually what I think is very strategic. A lot of Dems have been sharing some of the Trump supporters' tweets and things like that, saying don't vote, don't go out, don't support Republicans. And I think that it shows a little gumption, if anything. So I think it bodes well for the Democrats.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know, Trump implying that sometimes that it doesn't really matter. Sometimes he tells people to vote for them, but sometimes he implies that the whole thing is rigged and it doesn't matter what you do. I could see how they really do care about what he says, but you also, like, you don't want to not vote, right? Like, I mean, sure, you're talking about the fact that it was all stolen from Trump and everything, but I don't know, like letting the Dems take control, and when you hate the Dems so much, that just seems to be a difficult thing to imagine. Well, we'll have to see. It's possible this will swing things a bunch. It's gonna be very interesting to compare the final result here from the overall Biden-Trump numbers earlier. But if you're watching this and you're in Georgia, go vote if you haven't already. Hopefully you already have. But if you are not in Georgia, that doesn't mean that you can't still help to get out the vote. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. You can go, there's a lot of great organizations, which I'm sure you can easily find, but you can also go to tyt.com/GA and you can volunteer to help out in a number of different ways, including phoning voters, texting voters, writing letters to voters, going door to door if you live in the area. There's a lot of different ways that you can help make sure that as many people vote as possible. And by the way, I wanted to let you know about one last little bit of news update before we move on from this election. The Loeffler campaign has had to put out a statement saying the senator had no idea she took a picture with a former KKK leader. So that had sort of gone viral over the past couple of days. She had taken sort of a happy smiling photo with a guy who had led the KKK. Whoops.
That's one of my favorite things from the past few days, because I obviously anyone knew that they were gonna disavow the photo and say that she didn't know, so on and so forth. But she has like this, like if I remember correctly, like a camo America hat in the photo. I'm just like, oh yeah, you like not only knew what you were doing, but you dressed the part.
Exactly, like you did the cosplay that he wants to see for that thing. Exactly, yeah. No, she's just an embarrassment. This is like the 30th worst thing that she's done. There's a lot worse, the corruption and all of that. But anyway, she's just a disaster. We got to get her out of there. Perdue's terrible too, obviously, but we got to get Loeffler out of there, especially. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.